It's time for Mac Geek Gab, and in lieu of a quick tip today, I want to tell you about something that we are starting new here in August, and we are planning to do it every month, and that is we are doing a Mac Geek Gab giveaway. You go to macgeekgab.com/giveaway, and that's always where that will be. This month, we are giving away 5 licenses to Camo, which is the app that I use and that Pete uses to make our iPhones into even better web cameras than Continuity Camera does. And we're going to get Adam on Camo, I swear. It's absolutely a total game changer. And you can win one of the 5 free licenses just by going to macgeekgab.com/giveaway and entering our giveaway that we're doing in partnership with Camo. I'm really stoked. Our priority with these is to bring you something great to give away every month. And by saying it out loud here, I am making that commitment in public. So now we're going to do it. No, it's happening. The machine is running. It's all good. So macgeekgab.com/giveaway. And once we get to the show, we will have tips plus your questions answered and cool stuff found today on Mac Geek Gab 1049 for Monday, August 5th, National Dashcam Day. So maybe we'll talk about that later in the show. 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Mac Geek Gab, the show where we share, like I said, your quick tips, your cool stuff found, your questions. We even try to answer your questions. Sometimes we have questions, quick tips, and cool stuff found of our own. We string them all together into an agenda that is organized, giving us all the best shot at learning at least 5 new things every single time we get together. Our sponsor for this episode is Coda.io/MGG. That's where you can go to bring all your text and tables together onto literally one page. It's an amazing tool, and you can sign up at Coda.io/MGG for free. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, with most of my voice back, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in South Dakota, I'm Adam Christensen.
And aloha from New Hampshire. It's Pilot Pete. I had you there for a second. And now the giveaway is 4, because if we're going to get Adam on Camo, then we're down to 4 giveaways for the month.
I think 5. I'm already good. I'm already good there. I just need to.
There you go.
I just need to get on it.
It is an amazing program.
It's a great tool. And that's why I reached out to them as the first ones to do this with, because it's one of those tools that I love it. So
you don't know what you don't have until you then have it, and the cool stuff that it will do for you.
Yeah,
it'll zoom and follow. It just makes it's not Sidecar. What's the name of the
Continuity Camera?
Continuity Cam. It just makes Continuity Cam look weak.
It is, right? I mean, it's like Continuity Camera Pro.
On steroids, yeah.
And that's what third-party developers are there for, right? Like, you know, we have BusyCal and Fantastical, and Apple still makes Calendar, right? And Calendar works great for a lot of people, but for the people that want more, that's why BusyCal and Fantastical have thriving businesses. So
Dave, I want to put you on the spot and ask you a question before we get into quick tips, and you can tell me never mind, or we'll talk about it later, or go away, and that's okay. But how are you going to decide to whom you are going to present these licenses?
Oh, we're using a platform to do all this for us. I can't remember the name of the giveaway. Sweep Widget is the platform that we are using for that. So I am aware of it. I'm very involved in selecting things, but Sadie is running point on this. So I think Sadie will actually be the one that goes in and like presses the button to select the 5 winners at the end. But
okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, I'd be interested in doing it, because we've thought about trying to do that, something similar on my show, and I couldn't figure, how will we determine to whom we would give something? And
I mean, in the past, what I've done,
randomized fix.
Yeah. In the past, what I've done when we've done things similar to this, you know, with whatever, is I pull them into a spreadsheet, and then they'll, you know, let's say there's 500 people that have given. And so then I will now I would go to ChatGPT and say, pick me a random number between 2 and 500. because row 1 is usually like the header row, so I don't want to pick that. Yeah. And then it picks me a random number, and it's like, okay, well, there you go. Or pick me 5 random numbers between 2 and 500. And it's like, boom, okay, that's them. Good to go. That's it. So that's how I would do it. Yeah.
But are they truly random?
Probably not. Very rarely are computers' random functions random.
Yeah.
As we've learned, right? I'm sure you've found that too, Adam, right?
Yeah. I mean, depends on a lot of factors, but yeah. Random is random, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, truly random is just hard to do, but yeah.
Yeah. Should we get to Mike D, give him a little respect, and let's read off his quick tip?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Nicely played. D says, each morning when I get up, I do my morning routine with coffee and my iPhone while I wake up. I call it my morning surf. I like that. One of these things I do is head over to the App Store to initiate whatever updates are waiting. This typically is no problem because it's only a few apps. But once in a while, there are a ton of updates, 31 today. All the apps queue up and take their turn. But what happens if I want to use an app that is waiting to download and the icon is gray? I tend to be impatient in the morning. Well, if you press and hold the gray waiting icon, you are presented with a list of options, the first of which is prioritize download. This is super cool. Choosing this will move the app to the next available download position as soon as one of the current downloads finishes. This app will begin, sort of like cutting the line. That's a great tip because I did not know you could do the press and hold to get options, the long press. I always would just go tap the application that I want to launch, and then it immediately becomes the next item. So I skip the line that way, but 2 ways to do that. And I'm curious now what the other options are, so I'm going to be playing with that.
I always do it with the prioritized download thing. As soon as you mentioned that you could tap it and do it, I have some memory of seeing that happen too, but I'd forgotten about that one. But yeah, it's super handy to be able to do that. I do a very similar thing, and I usually do it. I don't do it first thing in the morning, but when I do all of my app updates manually on my iPhone because I like to read the release notes. Not for everything, but I like to see what's coming, and some of them I'll read the release notes for. And as I'm sort of scanning through it, choosing what release notes to read, that's when I will be like, oh, well, I know that the next thing I'm going to do is open this app. So I tap that one to update. And I basically queue up the ones that I want first and then hit update all, and it goes and gets the rest. So Brian in the chat asks, why not set your apps to just auto update? That solves the problem. He's right, except that then I don't have a reason to go. I don't have a reminder to go and look at the release notes for all of the apps. And I like that. But that's because I'm a nerd, but also because we do this show, and sometimes, something in the release notes will be like, oh, we should talk about that on the show or whatever. So that's why I don't auto update my apps. Yeah.
Nice.
Anything more on that, or we're good on that?
No, I'm trying to think of why I don't auto update my apps. I would think that was turned on, but I do have to go in and check them. So I need to check my settings.
Yeah, I don't either. And I've just always thought there are certain times I don't want them to auto update. I know that just because, it screws it up. But yeah, reading the release notes up front, well, this is not something I want to do. I think, you also talked about the other options. I think one of them is to not download the update and or delete. If you long press the gray, I think you have the option to delete
I think you have to swipe left on the update listing to delete the app. Yeah. Which is super handy for an app you forgot about, and it's like, oh, I don't need that anymore. Kill it.
Yeah, I don't want to update that junk.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Of course, the bigger problem there, I use that as like my way of sifting through apps that I've installed that I don't want. When I see an update come through for an app that I don't use regularly or at all, I use that to delete it. But if there's an app that hasn't been updated in a long time that I don't use, I don't know to delete it. And I really wish Apple would show me apps that I haven't opened in 6 months or something. Like,
Ooh, I bet you could make a shortcut to do that.
I don't think you have access to see that data.
Yeah, not on iOS. You can
you can do it on the Mac.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Clean My Mac does it on the Mac.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's super handy.
Super handy. Yes.
Yeah.
Super handy.
All right. How about I take us to Alex? He writes in with a quick tip. He says, hello, Adam, Dave, and Pete. I'm fairly sure this has been shared on the show already, but if by chance it hasn't, maybe you'll see it as useful. All the best, Alex. And I'm going to read it rather than try to describe it because I'll screw it up if I just try to talk about it. Look, so there's a built-in gesture to bulk select messages, emails, notes, and more across Apple's stock apps. And rather than using a sub-menu to put the items in select mode and then ticking the circles that appear in each row, you can just swipe 2 fingers down the list to select the item in the list that your fingers, every item in the list that your fingers touch. Yeah. And I tried this with notes. It's super cool. I know you could do it with photos, but you do have to put it in the select mode to do it with photos. I didn't try it with photos using this 2-finger gesture. I didn't think about that. But it goes on to say, I only learned about it when developer Jordan Morgan tweeted to complain that more third-party apps should make use of it. So apparently it's available in the API. So although it's a feature that's available to all apps on iOS and iPadOS, you'll find it mainly in Apple's stock apps. From poking around, it seems to be available in Messages, Mail, Notes, and Reminders. But there are almost certainly more. So, and I think, Dave, you're putting the link in the show notes to the Verge article. That
exactly.
Yeah.
I will do that for everyone to be able to read. And you can get the show notes at macgeekgab.com. So, you sign up for the mailing list and you're good to go.
Question on that. So if you're doing that, that feels like it's somewhat the equivalent of like a shift-click select on the Mac, right? Where you're selecting a batch or a range.
Yes, and or I liken it more to command click to select because you can skip over items in the list.
Oh, so you can. So like once you've initiated this, that was where my question was going. Is when you actually, so then you can lift with 2 fingers and then go down and
then go down 2 or 3 items and select another one, and it doesn't deselect the ones on top of it. It's
and then you can scroll with 1 finger while you're doing it.
Why have I not been using this?
Right?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
So thank you, Alex. That's a great one. And it's another one.
This is so much better. What I used to do to do the same thing, you put it in select mode. And if you run 1 finger down the column of check marks, you can do that. But it's a very narrow path. And if you veer off the path, it goes kind of, it goes silly on you. Yeah, right. So this is using the 2 fingers and using them, 1 finger in the wider column that has the data, whatever the data is, scrolls. 2 fingers in the wider column selects. So you really, if you just leave your fingers over the wider column and use 1 or 2, it's a much more fluid thing.
As soon as I tried it, I went, oh, this is way too easy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who knew? I guess somebody did.
Well, Jordan at The Verge did, but
yeah, exactly. Yep. All right.
Jordan at The Verge should have written into feedback at macgeekgab.com and given that to us years ago. Just saying.
Was there feedback at macgeekgab.com, Pete?
No, I think he said feedback at macgeekgab.com.
Yeah. Got it.
That's what I said. You heard me.
You want to help my mom?
Yeah.
So, as happens, my mom called me the other morning, and usually when it's not the weekend, because we usually talk on Sundays, I know that she's got a computer problem.
Tech support.
And she only has an iPad, which has been great. Like, she does not actually own a computer. She just has a iPad on with a cellular connection because she can't get internet where she lives, basically. And so that solves her problem. But she called me and she goes, my email's not working. I now, every message I open up, at the top of the message, it says your network preferences prevent content from loading privately. And then there was a button that says load content directly. And then if you tap that button, then it would load. So the way this manifested itself is suddenly she was getting, she was on group messages with her friend or mails, and was not getting pictures. Like all the pictures were just question marks, right? So it was like blocking all of the content. And I thought the message was confusing to me because it says your preferences are preventing content from loading privately. And I'm like, this feels like it's related to Apple's mail privacy protection. Yes. And disabling that would actually make the messages less private, so that the message is infinitely confusing to me. I don't know why it's worded like that. But anyway, sure enough, I said, let's try this. Go into mail, preferences, into the privacy tab, uncheck mail, protect mail activity, and then uncheck the hide IP address and block all remote content buttons. And we turned it all off, and lo and behold, everything totally worked. So yeah. But then I told her, I'm like, you're actually making your mail less private, not more private, by disabling this. So, but she prefers to see the content. So
well,
I explained to her, like, it's your choice. You get to decide. You can either have to click the load content directly every time, which is going to do, basically remove the protections just for that one email so you can see the content, because obviously, whatever site it's coming from is blocking because you're hiding your IP or for whatever reason. I don't really know what's going on, but it's like, you're actually making it less private. And I don't know why the message, because I'm assuming that message comes from Apple. She uses the mail app from Apple. So your network preferences prevent content from loading privately because you turned on mail privacy protection.
Yeah, so I'm looking at Apple's page about this that talks about mail privacy protection, and it explains the things that you just talked about, where if you let it load directly, then
it's not private.
Well, the person, and what they're talking about is, images that are not sent along with the message, but images that are linked from within the message, right? So, you open the message and then your computer downloads the image from not your mail server, but some web server at that point.
Right. Yeah.
And then that web server
may be embedded in that.
Yes. It's almost certainly is, that web server gets your IP address and knows things about you. And protect mail activity does two things. First, it can, route through Apple's tracking protection servers so as to obscure your IP address. And then the second thing that it does is it downloads all of those images in the background as soon as mail arrives. This is what it's supposed to do. And that way they don't know whether you've read the message or not, because otherwise they could know, this person, if it doesn't download everything, then they know you're only downloading it when you read the message, and so they can track you that way. I hope I'm making sense on this.
Yeah.
And so, like, the privacy protection, when you turn it on, does both of those things. It obscures your IP and downloads it in the background so that, the mail just arrived, whether you've looked at it or not, it's downloaded all the assets and nobody can track you. So I don't even know why this button exists for Apple. Like, why does this error message have to exist? Unless mail agents are blocking Apple's privacy servers.
That would be my guess. Yeah. They're getting wise to this, and they're like forcing a way to make people have to turn this stuff back on.
Yeah.
Well, I've noted that when I'm using Apple Mail in macOS, I get that message that, it's prevented from loading. But if I turn on PIA, Private Internet Access VPN, it loads.
Right. And I think that's because once you turn a VPN on, I think it turns this stuff off, because otherwise it would essentially be two VPNs fighting with each other. And I think Apple engineered
that.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
That you're already obscuring your VPN. I mean, your IP address. Sorry, Adam.
Correct.
Didn't mean to walk on you.
No. I was just going to point out too that this is a purely Apple app feature at this point. I don't believe there's any APIs or anything for third-party apps. So this only exists in Apple's mail program in Safari, I think.
I would love for there to be an API for it, because what I would then do is build a podcast app that downloaded the episodes via one of these things, and then we could put the audience counting on there without it actually tracking who the audience members are, because it would be really nice to get like industry approved metrics for the show. That'd be great. But the only way to do that right now is by essentially giving up all of your private information, or at least your IP address. And I don't want to do that. I don't think any of the three of us want to do that to you. So we don't, but it means that there's like ad campaigns that we miss out on and things like that, because, you know, the sponsor says, well, I need to use this tracking. Whether they actually need to or not is a whole other conversation, but they believe they need to, and it's their dollars. So then they just don't buy with us. So it'd be great to be able to say, yeah, okay, look, you can count the audience, but you can't know who they are. That's
right.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this a lot, because using Apple's engine to do that. I mean, we could set up our own engine to do that. And I'm actually thinking about that. So that that might be an upcoming project, Adam. So.
All right. We'll figure it out.
All right. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Next one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take us to David. He wrote in, and hold on just a second here. Everybody listening, if you're a terminal Luddite like me, go ahead and raise your hand. Go ahead, hold it up there. Let me see. Okay, I got y'all. This is one where it works great for me. Look, last week we talked about finding the path to a given file, and you could, click on it and do all these different things. Copy path to item, yada, yada, yada. And David writes in and reminds us of something that I have done for years, especially with Terminal. And it works for other places too. But he says, you gave a few tips about viewing the file paths. He says, of course, if you have a 2-button mouse or a magic mouse with the secondary click activated, you can access the menu with a right click or 2-finger tap. But he goes, that's not my tip. If you need a file path in Terminal, Script Editor, or many other apps, so there you go, besides Terminal, you can simply drag the file into the apps window, and the path to the file will appear in the cursor. I had completely forgotten about that when we were chatting about that last week, but I have used that over and over and over again, especially if you've got a NAS drive or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that all the time.
Complicated path.
I don't want to have to type it out. I don't even, there is a thing in most shells, and I think it's in Z Shell, which is the default terminal on the Mac now, called tab completion, where you can start typing a folder or file name and hit tab, and it will complete it, and then you can kind of keep going down. Even with tab completion, I don't want to have to type out
several options.
Yeah. Well, and it might be 6 folders deep. It's way better to just drag it in there. I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
I use that all the time. Now, Pete, since you're a Terminal Luddite, do you know how to do the opposite? So you're in Terminal, you've navigated somewhere, and now you're like, where am I?
Oh. That's a good question. Well, I've always assumed it's at the prompt. But it's not.
Depending on how you have your prompt set up, maybe not. But yes, if you ever need it, there's a command called pwd, and it will just output your current path in Terminal.
Yep. That is, I believe it is print working directory. That's how I remember it. Yeah. That could be wrong. In fact,
it always confused me. I'm like, why am I typing password to find my path?
PWD.
That makes more sense, Dave.
There you go. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then the way to get back, of course, is just CD enter, right? Back to your root.
Back to your home, usually. Yeah.
Your home.
Well, no, just CD enter will take you to the root. If you need to get home, it's CD tilde. to go to your
That's fair.
home directory.
Okay.
Although I think on the Mac, CD brings you to your home. Your home is your default
Does it?
directory. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we got PWD from terminal
Oh, you're
to
right. Yeah,
display the working directory. But how about if you have navigated somewhere in the terminal and now you want to be in that same place in the Finder, right? Wouldn't that be great to be able to open a Finder window right there so that you don't have to like do the commands from the terminal? Well, you can do that. The terminal command open and then dot and open space dot, the period. And that will, period is here where we are right now. Dot dot is one folder up from where you are right now, if that matters. But yeah, if you type open space dot, it'll open a Finder window with whatever folder you're in the terminal. So
Okay, fellow Luddites, here endeth the terminal lesson for the day.
okay, all right.
I think, unless you want to keep going. These are great.
No.
I had no idea these, but that's why I call myself a terminal Luddite. And I used to be a DOS god, but that was 40 years ago, I think.
All right, folks, have you ever felt like coordinating your team is like juggling flaming torches while riding a unicycle? Don't get caught in the chaos. Use our sponsor, Coda. I've been using Coda for a couple of my other businesses and one of my projects, and it's a game changer. Imagine a platform that combines the best of documents, spreadsheets, and apps into one magical place. It's like a Swiss Army knife for productivity. Our team relies on Coda to centralize all our processes and shared knowledge. With Coda, you can manage your planning cycles in one spot, set and measure OKRs with full visibility across teams, and collaborate on documents, roadmaps, and tables instantly. It's so organized, I sometimes think Coda could even plan a successful mission to Mars. Or, well, you could with Coda. And if you ever need the spark of creativity because maybe you're not planning a mission to Mars, no worries. Coda's gallery offers hundreds of templates to inspire you. It's like a treasure chest of ideas, minus the pirates and buried on a digital island. It's all right there. They make it easy. So whether you're launching a podcast, managing a project, or just trying to keep your inbox from resembling a black hole, Coda empowers your startup to strategize, plan, and track goals effectively. Take advantage of this limited time offer just for startups. Go to coda.io/MGG today and get 6 free months of the team plan. That's coda.io/MGG to get started for free and get 6 free months of the team plan. Coda.io/MGG, and our thanks to Coda for sponsoring this episode. And next, I've got another show for you to listen to, because Grumpy Old Geeks isn't just another podcast with two old white dudes rambling about tech news, security, and entertainment. Oh, no. Sometimes there are 3 of them. With over a decade of podcasting under their belts and more than 650 episodes, Brian and Jason bring you the grumpy truth with a side of snark. Together, they have over 50 years of experience as internet industry pros, which is impressive, if not slightly alarming. These guys have seen the information superhighway evolve from the hopeful dreams of a Star Trek utopia to the gritty dystopian reality of a William Gibson novel, complete with legless virtual avatars and a cloud of BS and vaporware. Remember those flying cars we were promised? Well, all we got were self-driving cars that are perpetually 20 years away, corporate mass surveillance, and the wild ride of NFTs. Expect plenty of swears and feels, mostly grumpy, as Brian, Jason, and occasionally Dave, not me, a different Dave, dissect what went wrong on the internet and point fingers at who's to blame. Tune in every Saturday for a hearty dose of reality on our technological future and much more. Head over to GOG.show or search for Grumpy Old Geeks on your favorite podcast platform. Don't get caught missing out on the real deal. These guys are it. And our thanks to them for doing this swap with us.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get into some questions for the week here. Terry writes in. Hang on. I'm pretty sure it was Terry. Yep. Okay. There we go. Terry writes in. Hello, Dave, Adam, and Pete. Blue sky question. I am repeatedly getting caught. My studio display plugs into a CalDigit T53 dock. I have 3 SSDs for various purposes hanging off of that dock: backup, video processing, and miscellaneous. I've also got an SSD on the studio display as a time machine volume. When the monitor plugs into my personal computer, my M1 Max 15-inch, all of those drives do their work as expected. When I plug in my Pearson work M2 MacBook Air, I actually would prefer that none of those drives mount. The company locks down installing any software that is not blessed by the company, and generally only software available via the company portal is allowed. So are you aware of anything in the operating system that would allow or that would stop all of the externals from auto mounting? When I put the work computer into the studio display, which I do daily as I switch between tasks, I typically have to go to a 3 to 4 minute tedious process of unmounting all of these drives by select, eject, and 95% of the time that moves into a force eject routine, which involves 2 clicks per each of the 4 drives. And only after that can I get to work, often on a virtual meeting with a faculty that I'm trying to help. Any insights would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for all of the great info you folks have provided over the years. Much appreciated, Terry.
Yep. So I looked into this a little bit for Terry, and hold on because I lost the answer, because the answer was a little bit complex. So I didn't know if there was a way to do this or not. And what I found out is there's actually a way to do this via the terminal. Now, I'm going to give this with the caveat that when I looked into this, I would not do this. And if you choose to do this, make sure you have backup. So what you need to do is
not what he does.
Yeah. What you would need to do is edit a file called the fstab file. And this contains static information about your file system. Now, to edit this, you actually must do it with a special version of the VI text editor called VIFS. I'm assuming VI file system or FSTab. I don't know what FSTab stands for actually. But what you do then is you go into the terminal, you type VIFS, and then you need to add a line to the FSTab file for each volume that you don't want to mount using its UUID, its mount point, its file system type, and the mount options. Now, there's a way to get all those details. We're going to have a link in the show notes to an article that walks you through exactly how to do this process. A guy wrote up a nice article over on GitHub. So you can do it. And you basically, in the mounting options, you tell it, hey, don't auto mount this volume. Don't auto mount this volume. I wouldn't do that though. I think an easier and safer way to do this would be just to set up a shortcut to eject the disks on startup or on login that you don't want mounted. So let them mount and then just have an automation that actually ejects them for you. Yes, it'll take a little bit longer, but much, much safer. So you can, when you create the shortcut, so there is a disk utility shortcut called eject disk, and then you just pick the disk that you want to eject. So it'd be an easy shortcut to set up. And then you can create an app. So if you right click on the shortcut, there's an option to put it in the dock. And when you put the shortcut in the dock, it creates an application that will be in your home applications folder in your home folder. So there's an applications folder in your home folder. You'll find it there. Then you can just add that as a login item in system settings, and then it will run at login and eject your disks. So I would do it that way.
Well, first of all, when it comes to modifying FSTab, and this certainly betrays my ignorance and lack of experience with FSTab, but I am reminded of a knowledge base article from like macOS 10.4, I think, that was talking about the sync services folder on your Mac. And the knowledge base article read, as if it were a swarm of bees, you should stay away from the sync services folder. I think of the FS tab file as if it were a swarm of bees. Don't mess with this. I don't think you could lose data easily by doing it, but you certainly could create a lot of headaches for yourself by mucking about in there and potentially lose data. I don't want to promise that you couldn't. There's a lot in there that could go very, very wrong and potentially render your system unbootable or unusable upon boot. Oof. I know that there are utilities for to do this for you written for macOS. I want to say one was called Mountain. It was, but I don't think I have that right.
Yeah, I was looking for a utility or an app and I couldn't find one, but if anybody does know of one, that would be great.
But I just use to do this because I have external drives like my Time Machine drives that I don't want mounted all the time. Or my clone drives, in fact. Actually, the Time Machine drives are a little easier to deal with. But the clone drives, I wouldn't want mounted all the time. And so I wrote a little automator app that really just ran a terminal command, the eject terminal command, the distkutil eject command. And it just, I have that thing run. Maybe it's an Apple script. I can't remember if it's automator or Apple script. I think it's Apple script now that I mention it. And it just runs that terminal command. I have it in my login items and away it goes. And that's it. So
I bet ChatGPT could help you write that.
Yeah. Or shoot us an email at feedback@macgeekgab.com and I'll send it to you. So
you heard him.
Yeah. 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 There are, is that my phone ringing or is that your phone ringing, Pete?
I don't know. It may be mine. It was a text, if anything, but I don't have a text message pop up on my computer screen. So.
No, I was hearing your phone buzz is what I was hearing. Phone buzz.
So some kind of alert. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was mine. It's in the tripod right there.
That's why. Okay.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm looking to see if there's anything in SetApp for mounting or unmounting disks, but I don't see them. So, yeah.
There was a cloud mounter, which was in SetApp, but that's not your NAS drive.
No, I know there was an app. I want to say it was called Mountain, but somebody will write it in and we will share it. And if we get it in time, I will put it in the show notes for this so that it's just like there. But
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's apps to do it, but you can write an easy Apple script. In fact, I think the Apple script is so easy that I could put the Apple script in the show notes, and then you could just save that as an app, and you're good to go. And you could use the prior trick to get the path of your external drive, right? That you're gonna because you just do this in the terminal.
Mount or unmount.
Yeah, exactly. And then you put that in an Apple script.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, man, it's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
It's almost like we planned it that way.
We didn't.
Almost.
But it is almost like that. Yeah. Occasionally, every now and then.
Man. Shh.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right.
right.
Beware secrets. Even a blind
But avoid the FS tab as if it were a swarm of bees, and life will be better for you, I think, Terry. All right. Are we ready to move on?
I am.
Okay. Great. Brian has a question here. Says, working from home 95% of the time, I find the Apple Watch feature to automatically unlock my Mac based on close proximity to be a great convenience. However, on the occasions where I head into an office or other more public space, I habitually hit a keyboard shortcut that locks my Mac. But because my Apple Watch is nearby, the Mac automatically unlocks again as soon as I start to walk away. What am I doing wrong here? I want the best of both worlds, but proximity doesn't know whether I am coming or going. Any suggestions or ideas?
I actually had an idea, and unfortunately I didn't have a whole lot of time to suss it out. I played with it a little bit, and I didn't get it to work, but I think it will. And so I think this may turn into a full-on geek challenge. If either of you has an answer, then pipe right in with it. But my idea is that you turn off the auto unlock feature on your watch, and then create a shortcut whereby your watch asks you if you want to unlock your Mac. So it goes to do it, but you have to affirmatively respond on your watch. Yes, just a little quick, tap.
Yep.
But I haven't been able to make that shortcut work for me as yet. So either you got an answer for Brian, or
I don't know that a shortcut could be used to turn that off. I don't know.
Well, here's why I think it could, and I don't know. But like, I set up a smart deadbolt on my house, right?
Yeah.
And there's a shortcut in there that, whenever you leave or whenever you come home, do you want it to unlock? When the last person leaves, lock the door. And the shortcut comes up and says, do you want to run this? And
yes.
I'll say on my watch, yes.
Right.
And when I come home, hey, whenever anybody comes home, do you want to run this, unlock the deadbolt? And if you ignore it, it doesn't unlock it. If you tap it, it unlocks it. So that's how I got down the path of thinking that this may be able to do the same thing for your computer as it does for my smart deadbolt.
But your smart deadbolt is a smart home device that HomeKit knows about, and therefore is triggerable with shortcut actions built for HomeKit. There is, to my knowledge, there is no shortcut action for unlocking a Mac. And so I think that's the issue. That's all just controlled on the Mac. You don't even control it on your watch, right? It's in like system settings. Oh, right. If I look for watch unlock, where is that? I think it's in login password. Yeah, you go into I don't know where it is. I can never find anything. Yeah, login password. That's right. And then you turn it on there. So I think your best bet, you might be able to use user interface scripting in AppleScript to open up system settings and turn off the Apple Watch unlock, right? Like you could automate that so that the computer isn't unlockable with your Apple Watch. But then you'd have to go turn that back on, and that's kind of a process. So I don't know.
And I turned that feature off some time ago because I find my finger unlocks my Mac just fine. And so that's almost as convenient as my watch. So, obviously he's got a different use case than I do. But
Right.
Any geeks out there, Geek Challenge?
Yeah, there might be another way to solve this problem.
Yeah, we're just not thinking of it yet.
Yep. I'm not seeing anything in the show notes or in the live chat here, but I do have Paul Conaway suggested eject bar at ejectbar.com for the previous thing, for the previous issue with Terry's issue of wanting to eject drives, and you can set a schedule for eject bar to eject drives. It just lives in your menu bar, and you can eject them sort of manually up there, or you can set a script to do it. So that might be a way to get it done. So yep. Okay. Hang on, I'm going to bring Adam back in. Hi, Adam. Sorry, I had brought you out because I thought you had to leave for a work thing. So,
okay.
You're back now.
I'm multitasking.
Great. Okay.
The laptop and
So
the work thing's fixed now, I believe.
Great.
I'm just keeping an eye on it. So
okay.
Crisis
cool.
avoided.
Right. Great.
There was a time sensitive thing, and I blew it. I forgot that I was supposed to be on call this morning.
Yep. All right. No problem. But you were saying something, or you had something to add there, and none of us heard you. So
I was just saying that's awesome, that the eject bar thing. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good.
And
stuff.
I also we need to help Kent here because he got caught apparently.
Okay. All right.
Kent says, I got caught. I have an Epson WF4834, gotta love printer names, multifunction printer, which I use mostly for scanning and occasional printing. I have been using remanufactured ink cartridges, which work have worked flawlessly. Recently, I'd been getting a pop-up prompt on the printer that a firmware update was available, and I resisted doing so, but in a weak moment, I installed it. The printer immediately informed me that it did not recognize the cartridges and they needed replacing. I've known that printer manufacturers would do that, but I had escaped getting caught until now. So if your printer offers a firmware update and you're using remanufactured, refilled cartridges, be aware that they probably won't work if you install the update. Don't get caught. Yeah.
Wow.
So, those printer manufacturers, they want you using their official expensive inks. And if you deviate from that, they have sensors or things in their cartridges that they can tweak. And this has been a long running sort of known issue. I don't know that all manufacturers do this or it happens all the time, but yeah, it is a thing for sure. So
it is
be
a thing
out
and
there.
There is in certain commercial settings and perhaps even at home, there is good reason to use only things that the manufacturer has certified are going to work with the device, right? Like if you're doing very specific color matching, right? The manufacturer's on the hook. They sold you a printer that was great for color matching, and now you're using this off-brand ink, and they have no control over that. So, that changes things. And also off-brand ink. I've had off-brand toner cartridges go sideways and make a very big mess sometimes, right? So I get that there is some practical reason why you as a consumer might want to be protected against these things, but me as a consumer would like to be able to decide whether I want to give me a warning and then get out of my way, right? Don't just enforce this on me, but tell me about it. Sure, make me jump through a hoop or something. But yeah, no, that practice of, especially after the fact, pushing a firmware update to do that I don't like that.
Well, the coffee machines used to do that too, right? Like your Keurigs and they would insist that you have only the official brand cups. They had like QR codes or other things on those things that they would like. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. We try to go organic, so luckily they don't do it anymore because I fill my own little cups with organic coffee that we buy. So
we went I don't drink coffee regularly, but when we had the Tassimo for a while, and that was great because it had a real pump in it. It was like a real espresso machine, but it used pods. And similar to the sort of VHS beta wars, Keurig won out on that battle and killed off Tassimo, and so you couldn't buy pods for it anymore. And it was at that point that I decided I wanted to go open source with our coffee. I did not want to be stuck with anything, and did the math, and it was like, wow, if you're just buying beans, you wind up saving over a relatively short period of time. Yeah. So we went with a super automatic, espresso machine that you just put beans in the top. It grinds enough for one cup, pumps the cup of whatever, and of course you can get them. We've been through two of them, and again, I know far more about this than anyone would ever have expected me to, because most people know I don't drink coffee, but the Philips, I think I want to say the 4000 or the 4000 series is what we have now. I think we've been through a couple of these, and over the last 20 years or something, 15 years, and it's great. This thing's awesome. It's a gadget I'm super happy to have. And I'm super happy it gets used each day, even though I don't use it personally. But, every now and then I'll make myself a cup of coffee or whatever. But, yeah. So, Pete, we got to get you some kind of insulated base for your phone, or just go into do not disturb mode, and then your phone wouldn't do that anymore.
I could do that too, but what's the fun of that? And she calls me back. It's my daughter calling me. It's yeah.
I love my podcasting focus mode that only lets text from you guys through.
I was not smart enough to put that on.
Yep.
So she's texting me that it's urgent. So if you don't mind, I will drop out for a second. And
all right,
I'm sorry.
We'll go to Neal.
I hope everything's
Adam.
okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. Yep. You want to take us to Neal, Adam?
Sure, I will try. I didn't have that one.
It's a big long, it's a big long question, but yeah. It's about Wi-Fi, so we love that.
Oh, would you recommend migrating? Yes, here we go.
Yes.
And there's that word again, gentlemen. I don't know where those guys are, but we'll try our best. I'm currently using an Eero network, and up front, I will note that there isn't anything at all wrong with my current network. This definitely goes into the category of MGG's second most favorite saying, if it ain't broke, fix it until it is. Woohoo! It just may be time to start breaking things. I have 3 Eero 6E units and 2 6s. Almost certainly overkill for the coverage area, but the house has a lot of walls with plaster, steel mesh, and there was a dead spot. The 3 6Es are connected with wired backhaul over Cat 5E. The 2 6s, is it 6s or 6S? I'm assuming it's just 6s, right?
The 6s, yes, it is plural for 6s, correct.
Okay.
Yep. They're
Just
not like iPhones.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Yeah.
Those use wireless backhaul. With that as a background, I'm thinking about changing to the UniFi system. My plan would be the new Cloud Gateway Max for its ability to support 2.5 gigabit Ethernet with an attached switch that will let me wire 3 of their new Wi-Fi 7 access ports, which have 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports, along with 1 or 2 UniFi switches. All of this, of course, dependent on figuring out how to run Cat 6A to support the Ethernet speeds above 1 gigabit and power over Ethernet, which itself is a major challenge given the construction of my house, but hopefully a problem I can solve. In any case, all of this is entirely unnecessary at this point, but I have the itch to break things and would like to have greater control that the greater control that the UniFi system provides, including potentially creating VLANs for my IoT devices and so forth. I was wondering if you had any experience with or thoughts about the UniFi and benefits, drawbacks compared with the incredibly easy to use Eero and similar mesh systems. Interesting from a cost standpoint. The hardware for this upgrade will be about the same as upgrading Eero 7 units with the best discount they have offered, which seems to crop up periodically and significantly less than the usual selling price for the 3-pack of Eero 7s, and maybe about the same as the 3-pack for Wi-Fi 7s from TP-Link. So if I'm going to do this, the cost is not out of bounds. So,
no,
a lot in there to unpack.
There's a lot here. It's probably won't come as a surprise that I've been thinking a lot about this too as of late, largely because many of us now with fiber connections and even the faster cable connections that are coming are being given at least the option of having internet speeds that are faster than 1 gigabit per second. And most of our older routers have 1 gig per second, gig Ethernet ports on the WAN side. And so you could pay for that connection, but you can't take advantage of it. And even the router that I love to use, which is the Synology, it only has one 2.5 gig port on it. So you can either use that for WAN or for the LAN. But without 2 of them, you can't, doesn't work. So I've been thinking about, should I move to a UniFi? Should I move to the Firewalla, right? Which is a router, and I've been trying to get in touch with the Firewalla folks to get some questions answered. So I'm gonna keep on that. But some of these geekier routers, I'll call them, and what UniFi's been doing, especially with like Neal mentioned, the new UniFi Cloud Gateway Max, that kind of looks like a perfect option for folks that want to be geeky with their networks like us, but without having to really go nuts. I have run UniFi in the past, and I even have an older UniFi Dream Machine currently up and running as a second network in my house, mostly because I wanted to refamiliarize myself with the now much more refined UniFi software. And for nerds like us, and even for if you're interested in doing more with your network than the sort of stock pages of the Eero app give you, then UniFi isn't really terribly difficult. It's pretty straightforward. And I wouldn't say that it's intuitive. You have to learn it. It doesn't learn you. But I would say that about Eero too. Like as soon as you get past the most basic features of the Eero, it kind of gets weird. It's like, oh, I have to remember what path is it that I take to find that advanced setting to tweak this or whatever. And the same is true with UniFi. So, and you can do a whole lot more. You know, you're not kind of locked into a box there. So, I think UniFi is pretty clearly laid out. I think it's a good option, and it gives you a lot of options too if you go into that UniFi ecosystem. But in theory, you know, you could run the UniFi Cloud Gateway as your router, and then have, you know, Eeros as your Wi-Fi mesh if you want. But you could also buy the UniFi mesh stuff and have it all controlled in the same app. So yeah, I think. I mean, if you're looking to do it, I think it'll be fun. I am certainly looking to do it. I think, I don't know where Synology is in their development of the next sort of iteration of their router. I haven't heard any rumors about it. That doesn't mean that it's not in development. It just means that I haven't heard any rumors. But like without having multiple ports that are faster than 2.5 gig, you're not going to be able to do the things that you want with the faster Ethernet or faster WAN connections that we have. So I don't know. Does that help? Are you back with us, Pete?
I am. Yeah. So
Okay, great.
Sorry everybody for those.
No.
My daughter's trying to get home so we can all take a flight to Europe, and her flight canceled. So.
Oh, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, you know, we're fighting with the airlines again.
You're working it out. Yep. Yep.
You're gonna have to go pick her up.
Exactly. But she managed to get, it turns out I did have the do not disturb on, but I have it set so if you call back within 3 minutes, and that's what she did.
Okay.
Good.
Well, that's good.
It worked.
Yeah.
That's worked
So it
as
worked.
designed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Your plane's not done being painted, so you can't go pick her up.
No, not even if I
And that
wanted
would
to.
be a multi-day affair
That'd be
anyway.
a long, yeah.
Yeah. Although is she rated on your plane? I mean, if your plane was ready, could she just go fly it home?
She could, yeah. But actually, the way here's the thing is you may all know, and this is not a pejorative, everybody. Debbie is a retired sandwich girl from Delta Airlines, and she had a passenger.
It says
call
this
her
in
that
Pete's
once.
phone, folks. Yep.
She had her passenger call her sandwich girl one time, and she made the mistake of telling me, and it's been her call sign for 25 years. So, sandwich girl, you forgot me. So Debbie's status as a retired sandwich girl gives her some passes, but boy, you're way down on the totem pole to get an empty seat. You got to have an empty seat coming this way. So, and we had a ticket, Positive Space, but this is not the airline Geek Gab, so.
Right. There you go. So let's go back to Wi-Fi mesh. There is the simple mesh, and 100% of the time I would still recommend Eero, and then, Deco and Orbi, just like we talked about last week, kind of in that order. And for various reasons, if you need to go long stretches of Wi-Fi backhaul, Orbi kind of, that's their stock and trade there. But what we talked about last week absolutely still stands. If you want to have more granular control over things, UniFi is definitely something to consider. If you just want to geeky your router, then like the UniFi Cloud Gateway Max is one, or the Firewalla would be potentially another. I've never used it, so I can't speak, with personal experience about it, but we're trying to fix that. So, yeah.
You all have way more time to mess with networks than I do. I set up my Orbis and I did the Rompopeel style, set it and forget it. It's like done and done. It works. I'm moving on.
Right. Yeah.
But I love people who geek out on network stuff because I learned so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, Orbi, Eero, Deco are great if you want to set it and forget it, because they are built to just kind of do their thing on their own, and you don't have to worry about it. When we talked about Deco last week, I meant to mention my uncles. Did I mention this? That both of my uncles are still running the OG Deco units from like, I mean, a long time ago. Hang on, I'll pull up the app because I am the manager on one of them, and it tells me how many days his network has been protected, and it's 2,561 days. Divided by 365 is just over 7 years.
That's about 7 years and change, isn't it? Yeah.
That's correct.
Smokes.
7 years. And they are still running these OG Wi-Fi 5 decos in their houses in Maine. And it works great for them. It's like, software updates still come. Like, so there's a lot to be said for those deco units too.
Well, clearly they don't follow our advice, which is if it ain't broke, fix it till it is.
That's where this started.
That's the part you missed, Pete. Neal actually said that in the beginning of the question.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. No, he absolutely acknowledged that.
I set up my Orbeez here 2.5 years ago, and I haven't touched them since. The only problem we ever have with them is they're plugged into a bum electrical wall outlet that if you accidentally bump it, it will. It's kind of. I need to get an electrician out to take a look at it, but it will turn off.
That's not so good. No. Yeah, you might. Yeah. If you're not comfortable with electricity on your own, then bring somebody out, because that's the kind of thing that can lead to heat buildup and then fire in your walls. So potentially. Yeah. You don't want to get caught that way.
Well, and it was really bad too because we had the robot vacuum like next to that, and then there was a point where it was like every time the vacuum would dock, it would hit it enough that it's like my wife's like, the Wi-Fi's out. I'm like, check the plug.
I want to offer a bit of a PSA/correction. This reminds me, I use UPSs throughout my office and home for all of our electronics, not just our computers. I have them on the TV and everything else. And I gave a recommendation for the Amazon Basics UPSs because they're way less expensive than the others. I have two of the 800 volt amp ones. One's here in the studio, one's behind our TV at home. Both of them suffer from what I'm about to describe. And there are comments on the Amazon Basics review, listing that also describe this. And I will not be buying any more of these. And because the problem is when the power flickers a lot, they just turn off and then they don't come back on again. And it's not that they've run out of battery juice, right? It's like, it's not even if we've gone on the generator for, hours and then somehow it dies or whatever. Like it's, the power flickers, there's lightning or whatever, and it kind of does its thing back and forth for a little bit. After 2 or 3 of those, it just turns off and you have to go turn the UPS on. And I'll notice it. Well, when I come in the studio, the computer won't turn on or won't wake up. And that's a hint. And then the other is that, we go to watch TV at night. It's like, wait, why doesn't the remote work? It's like, stupid thing's off again. So to me, that's sort of the opposite of what a UPS is supposed to do. Yeah. I mean, yes, it's protecting my gear, but there's a better way. Maybe use the battery inside you. I don't know. It's just, but I wanted to share that.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah. So don't buy the Amazon Basics UPSs if you don't like that feature. So yeah. So we got time for another question here. Yeah. Paul asks, I've had my head underwater for the last year or so on my Macs, and I am an OS or 2 behind. Should I upgrade now, or should I wait until the next release in a month and a half or so and jump 2 OSs forward? I'm currently on macOS 13.4 and not a heavy user of custom apps that might have compatibility issues, and this is on an 14-inch MacBook Pro with an M1 Max. Pete?
Ooh, I can answer that. Yes. Okay. Now that my smart aleck answer is out of the way, yes, you should wait, and yes, you should do it now. Generally speaking, and I know you guys will each have opinions on this too. Generally speaking, I upgrade to the latest operating system and or version thereof as quickly as it comes out, if for no other reason than for security. That being said, not so on the beta. If I wouldn't jump right to the betas right away, and we've talked about that on the show before too. You can quickly find yourself truly being a beta test bed, and you may or may not want to be that. But there are some pretty cool things on Sonoma that you're going to enjoy on your computer. Interactive widgets on your desktop are cool to play with. More options for continuity camera to make that more powerful. Although, if you go to macgeekgab.com/giveaway, you may get your camo license, and you don't need your continuity camera features because this is going to outdo that. Callback. And then Safari has profiles instead of tab groups to do. Those are just 2 or 3 of the cool things that are on macOS 14 Sonoma. Sayonara is next. I don't know.
I don't know what's next.
One of them's next, but yeah.
macOS 15 is next, Pete. That's what's next.
There you go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait on a major one like that. There's too many cool things and security updates for you to go now.
I mean,
That's my opinion.
I think macOS 13 is still getting security updates. That will happen for a little while.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think they give it's at least 2 years, but it might be longer than that. Yeah. And you could install Safari 14 in macOS 13 to get those Safari specific features. But that's just me being pedantic. Yeah. I agree with you. I would upgrade to Sonoma. macOS 14. I don't upgrade the studio machine until I know that the drivers for my external audio devices and all the audio software is going to be happy with it. But otherwise, I upgrade my sort of daily driver Macs to the latest when it comes out.
I mean, you've got a show to
a week
produce.
Before.
And you had a real horror show at one point with Core Audio.
Yeah, many times. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a known thing that, especially external audio devices or audio in general, you're doing real-time stuff. And so minor changes can have major impacts is the reality. Yeah. If you go into, pick a recording studio in Manhattan or LA that's running a Mac, running probably Pro Tools or Logic, you'll probably find them on, Mac OS 12 or something. They just don't upgrade. They treat it like a tool. It's like, do you need to upgrade the operating system of your hammer? No. I swing my hammer. It hits the nail. It works. It's a tool. I don't need it to be on anything. Most of these computers aren't even connected to the internet, or they're air gapped or somehow. So yeah.
This is the one exception in my life that we've talked about. I do not make my wife upgrade or upgrade my wife's machine because when things change, she hates it, and the anger comes my direction.
And you can't afford the divorce lawyer.
Yep. That's right. No, nor does he want one. Adam, I think, genuinely likes his wife. Yeah.
He likes her.
Yeah, I love my wife, and I want her to be as happy as she can be. And she's happy when things are working the way she likes them, and she's got them set up. And, I've had this with a client, too. I had this with a client, and I got to the point where it's like, I got to just tell you, until that 2-year time frame, you're not getting security updates anymore, then you're going to have to upgrade. But if you're happy where you are and everything's working, and she was a professional photographer, and it drove her nuts when she had her workflows, she knew how everything worked, and then, Apple would move a button somewhere or move a feature somewhere, it's like, I now don't know how to use she wasn't a real computer literate person, and she's like, I know how everything works. It can't be breaking on me, this literally affects my business. So there's weird exceptions like that, like the music thing you're saying, Dave, right? It's like, it's a tool. Do not mess with it. I know how everything works. It works great. I can't afford anything to go wrong or not or lose my efficiency or anything because you made some stupid change that I don't care about.
Right. Yeah, that's really what it was. My desire to upgrade to whatever the OS was that caused problems with here was to sync focus modes, right? Because I love being able to put this machine in podcasting mode all my devices go into podcasting mode. That triggers a shortcut on my phone that turns on the lights behind me. It turns off the air purifier, right? Like all of those things. That was a desired improvement to my workflow. And boy, did I pay for it. But, now like things are good. So I'm not in a hurry to upgrade this machine. It's all happy. Right. So
And in Discord, Soccer Hallways, I think is how he pronounces it, agrees with you 100,000,000%, Adam. Just, yeah. And he also confirms that OS 13 is still getting, macOS 13 is still getting supported with updates.
Yeah. I agree with that advice. If somebody asks me, I'm thinking about update, like Paul did here, I'm thinking about updating. Is there any reason I shouldn't? I'll answer the question honestly. And I think for Paul, if you're thinking about upgrading, you want to upgrade, it's your decision. Absolutely. I support it or I don't support it. Like if Paul said, I'm using a lot of custom apps and I have all this custom hardware and everything works and should I upgrade? I don't think so. But he's not. And so, I think upgrading is good. But I'm not a thou shalt upgrade type of person. Not usually anyway.
Yeah, there's exceptions. Again, once you're not getting security patches, then you probably you need to at that point. But as long as you're getting security updates, you should be fine.
Yep. All right, Adam, I've got a question to call us back potentially to much earlier in the show. Chris says, I have a MacBook Air with an issue in Safari. There are no images displayed whatsoever. I can't find any settings to turn images on or off. And a reinstall of Sonoma, macOS 14, has made no difference. What am I missing? Please help before this MacBook Air becomes an unidentified flying object.
I guess it's just living up to its namesake at that point.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
My first question back to him, and I don't know if we've gotten an answer yet. I haven't checked email, but are you using any content blocker apps? Like I use one blocker in Safari, and that can block things because that's what it's supposed to do. So depending upon trackers, mostly it's supposed to block ads, but in the Discord, MackyPie said the same thing. Is an ad blocker present? So that's first question. And maybe you installed one and just forgot it was there. It's easy to do. I've done it. We've all done it. I mean, Dave, I think we've been on looking at things on site development, and I'm like, hey, the ads aren't loading. What's going on?
What's going on? Oh.
Adam, do you have your ad blocker on? Oh yeah, sorry.
Yep.
So there's that. The other thing, though, going back to kind of what I was helping my mom out with in our conversation about private relay settings, which is a supported privacy feature in Safari. If you go under Safari Preferences and look at the Privacy tab, you have those same sort of checkboxes, hide IP addresses from trackers and websites. So in that case, you have a couple options for where to hide IP addresses. So my first suggestion was maybe try, I think the default is hide your IP address from trackers and websites. Try changing that to just trackers, so you still are blocking any IP tracking, but the website can maybe see your IP address and see if that maybe makes a difference. So I would try, messing with some of those settings and see maybe that's what's going on.
I would also look at, check all of those things first. Those are the easy things to check. Then look at what are you using for your DNS server. Are you inheriting the default one from your router, and is your router inheriting the default one from your ISP? Maybe try changing your Mac's DNS to like Cloudflare 1.1.1.1 just to see, does that solve it? If so, then at least you know what path to head down. And then sometimes us nerds do things that we forget about. And there was
like an Etsy host file or something.
That's actually where I was going to go with this. Was there for a long time there were people, and I think this still happens, people publishing lists of known like image servers or ad servers that people would want to block, and the instructions were to copy this big long list of thousands of entries or whatever and paste it into your Etsy host file. And it would, instead of like doing a lookup, it would tell it, look at localhost. And of course it would fail and, you know, you wouldn't load the ad or the image or whatever. So take a look at your file and you can just look at, if you go to the terminal and type cat/etc/hosts, that file by default has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines that at the top that start with a pound sign, the number sign, the hash mark, whatever you want to call it. Those are just comments. And then there are 3 lines in that all look at either localhost or broadcast localhost or broadcast host. And that's it. So if there are any more than 3 lines there, it has very likely been modified. And you want to look at what those lines are and try and remember why they're there, because that might also be causing a problem for you. So that's what I got on that. Yep.
I can't believe anyone would do that and then forget about it.
Same. Yep.
Dave, you're turning red. Are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine. I think my beer light's on, Pete. Yep. These are the things. Yep.
Do we have time for a couple CSF?
I think we've got time for a CSF or 2. Yeah. You want to do a couple cool stuffs found, Pete?
Yes, I do.
I mean, if you don't, it's fine. We're kind of right at the end.
There we go.
Here,
so it's Graham was the first one that I wanted to get to, and while I vamp and try to get my daughter's text to stop hitting where I'm trying to put Graham's name in. There it is. So this is cool. So Dave saw this and sent it to me because a couple weeks ago I talked about 10minutemail.com, not 10minute, just 10minutemail.com. Don't write anything else or you'll get to another website and you don't want to go there. Hi, folks. Pilot Pete mentioned a service for providing a temporary email address, so I thought I'd add a service that provides a free temporary SMS phone number in the U.S., TextPlus.com. TextPlus also provides longer-term subscriptions, but I use the free number, which stays valid for 7 days for accessing a U.S. service that had a silly requirement to prove identity and nothing more by receiving a text message. Their support team suggested this hack for their international clients. Regards, Kiwi Graham. That is awesome. Being able to think how much spam text you could stop. Go get a new phone number today. Don't give it to anybody and then use this service so you don't get constantly spammed. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it. And evidently it's available as an app. So
even
like
better.
That's kind of how that works. Yeah. That's great. I like it.
I love that. Thank you, Graham, for sending that one in.
Yep. Very cool.
So
very cool. You got another one for us, Pete?
I do. Jenna sent one in. I talked about my little I call it Squeeze. It's a automator program that I wrote about making my image files smaller. And Jenna wrote in and said I was using the compressor tool you mentioned on your page here, and it does a good job. But I wanted to share about another tool that I think looks like it may be better. After some exploring, I found this other tool, and I wanted to suggest it. You show it along with that one, and it's the website is we'll put it in the show notes. It's called Image Optim.
No, Image Optim is the tool we mentioned.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's I'm sorry, I got it backwards. It's websiteplanet.com/webtools/image-compressor. One word. Tool allows you to compress both JPEG and PNG files. And each picture can be up to 50 megabytes in size. So Image Compressor is the name of it at websiteplanet.com/webtools/image-compressor.
Huh.
So,
right.
very good.
Cool.
I have not played with that yet, but 50 megabytes is a whole bunch of raw. Well, I guess that's a different format. Never mind.
Yeah. But to take a JPEG down or a PNG down. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool.
So I
like
have I have a kind of quick tip to go along with this a little bit because these web tools are great, but also free, right? So there's often a little bit of an exchange. And so oftentimes when I find these, I like to go just check what kind of trackers are they using? What are they doing in the background? And a great way to do that in Safari is you can go in your Safari menu and get a privacy report, and it will show you which websites have trackers and what trackers they have and what's been blocked, because Safari blocks a lot of that stuff. So this one came out pretty clean, so I think this is a pretty decent one. But sometimes these things are loaded with ads and trackers and those sorts of things. So just be careful out there with some of these web-based tools. I'm always a little, and there's a lot of them for coding and stuff like that. That's why I bring this up. Like, it comes up very often where, you're doing a URL encode decode or a regex thing, or, there's a lot of these little tools that people have built, and some are good and some are a little on the outskirts. I will
outskirts. That's why the horn goes off in the background for you. Adam,
Sorry, it's First Friday. It's First Friday, folks. They're checking the sirens.
Boy,
I'm listening
they
to
just
them
let
going,
that
I'm
thing
hearing
go
a
for a
mosquito
long
buzzing
time.
in my ear. It's doing a
so
nice
apologies.
job of keeping it down to a minimum.
Yeah,
But that mosquito buzzing is not real. It's the
No,
horn.
that's Adam's horn. That's right. Well, Adam's town's horn, I suppose. Yeah. Well, it is time for other sound to come back into things, because we are at the hour and 21-minute mark here. So we are going to rock and roll. Thank you for hanging out with us, folks. Thank you for all your questions, all your tips, everything. It's amazing. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for sharing the show. Join the giveaway, macgeekup.com/giveaway. Thanks to CashFly for providing all the bandwidth to get the show from us to you. Thanks to Coda.io/MGG for sponsoring this episode. Of course, you can always go to macgeekup.com/sponsors and see what deals exist with our sponsors, whether or not they are current. We try to keep them all up to date for you. That's what I got.
Yeah, well, you know what? Life happens, man. In this show, life happened a lot.
Life happened a lot during this show.
Yeah, so thank you for your patience, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Because I got caught. Adam
Did you
got
get caught? Yep.
Dave, don't get caught.
That's good advice. I like it. Yeah. Thank you. Have a good week, folks. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Later.
That is funny. The horn did its fade out right as you were doing the fade out of the show.
That horn runs that long? That's like 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Yeah, it's a 3-minute test.
Wow. Huh.
I think actually 4 minutes is just winding down, so I'm going to guess it'll tick to 4.
It's going to tick to the
second.
4-minute mark. Yeah, right. Yep.
Pretty soon.
Wow.
You were talking, and I'm hearing like this ping, like something was wrong with your microphone. I'm like, what?
Well, and
then I'm like,
yeah, so
and then Dave goes, "Oh, it's the horn." I went, "Okay."
Yeah, we live across the corner